Brothers and sisters of the United States, imagine this future with me. The year is 2050 and America is a beacon of hope, morality, and democracy to the rest of the world. Our politicians are unified in their goal to create the society which best serves the people. The majority of the time, decisions are reached unanimously, across all aisles and parties, following what experts in their respective fields deem to be the best course of action. There's transparency and trust between those who take up the honorable position of serving the public and the citizens that give our happy consent to be governed by representatives which will stop at no lengths to ensure our well-being. Foundational moral principles guide our country, uplifting us into a golden age of prosperity. In this America, governance is a symphony of transparency, integrity, and service. Leaders are not elected by wealth or influence, but by their proven commitment to the public good. Political campaigns focus on ideas and evidence, not partisanship or propaganda. The cultural heartbeat of this America is unity and diversity. Citizens embrace their differences as sources of strength and innovation. The arts flourish, reflecting the richness of our experiences and inspiring the world with visions of hope and beauty. Communities are vibrant, interconnected, and resilient, bound by a shared sense of purpose and of mutual respect. Economically, this America stands as the world's engine of creativity and abundance. Small businesses thrive in a fair and competitive marketplace, while corporations operate under strict ethical guidelines, reinvesting into community well-being as well as sustainability. Scientific research thrives, funded generously and directed towards humanity's grandest goals. Diseases are eradicated, sustainable energy independence powers our nation, and space exploration opens new frontiers for all of humanity. Our nation invests heavily in education, fostering a populace that is not only literate, but enlightened. Each individual equipped to think critically and act compassionately. America shines as a symbol to the world and leads, not through coercion, but by example. We are the embodiment of humanity's greatest potential that is realized when science, ethics, and collective well-being are placed at the forefront of society. Other nations seek to follow our model, and global partnerships flourish under our leadership. We are a testament to the boundless possibilities of human endeavor. And the United States of America is the pinnacle of humanity, a shining beacon that illuminates the path forward for a world yearning for hope and greatness. This is the future we ought to be. This is the future we can be. This is not the future we are currently heading towards. Right now, our government and our country is changing rapidly. Many of you will theorize on why this is, and many more will not, but I imagine all of you feel it regardless. Do you feel it is for the better? For you, does our politics inspire hope? Does our government make you feel as though you are not only taken care of, but prioritized? Do our civil servants feel like a force to serve the people, the common good, and not their own interest? If not, know that you are not alone. Politics is degrading and it will affect you. From the prices of everyday goods to the rights and liberties that we take for granted, from our culture and pride as Americans to how accepting and trusting we are of our neighbors, from our healthcare and the treatments that we receive to our education that shapes and makes our citizens and children, and from our security and safety to our justice and legal systems, everything starts and ends with our government. Garbage in, garbage out, and politics is no different. I wonder what you believe is in our government right now. Do you believe that we as a country are moving towards the higher ideals of the free world that we claim to represent? Ideals of science, rationality, humanism, and progress? Ideals of virtue, wisdom, self-discipline, and courage? Is that how we present ourselves? Or are we pursuing the vices of skepticism, nonsense, selfishness, and stagnation? Vices of evil, ignorance, greed, and cowardice. I imagine for many of you that this change feels like it has happened in roughly the last decade. It generally has. I imagine many of you believe that things will bounce back. They won't. At least not without drastic and immediate action. And that time for action is now. We can fight back against the worst parts of our nature. We can pave the way to the glorious and just America I know you believe in, but if we are to act, we must do so now. Now is the time to say no more. Not here, not us. That's why we, the people of this country, exist. That's why now the Aurelian Fellowship exists. The Aurelian Fellowship is a combative countermeasure to corruption, bad faith actors, and evil in positions of political power. We are here to right the crooked path we are on for a brighter future for all of humanity, away from the corruption and greed, away from the despair, pain, and suffering, and away from the festering circus we call our government. The Aurelian Fellowship is a nonpartisan organization to fight against the greed that plagues our society. We believe in a fundamentally good future of hope and truth to combat misinformation, corruption in politics, and the greed of businesses and individuals that exploit and kill in the pursuit of money or of power. We believe that the good of humanity can win against these adversaries, but they are true and powerful adversaries indeed, and this battle will not be simple or easy. Our mission is to provide information, analysis, and most importantly, a common directive to the public on issues through the lens of 8 key foundational pillars: science, rationality, humanism, progress, and wisdom, virtue, temperance, justice. These are the pillars that have led to the birth and best aspects of our great nation, and these are the pillars that will avert its current demise. Put simply, we believe that casting aside our morality to gain a buck should not be how we run our society. Governing from the pursuit of morality is our goal. If humanity can follow these principles, we will have a brighter future for all, and not just for the few that use deception and fraud to line their already full pockets. Our goals are straightforward. Destroy vice and corruption from political office. Push the ball of humanity forward as efficiently and humanely as possible, and create real positive change for the people of the United States. We believe everyone, Republican, Democrat, Independent alike, can stand behind this mission. No corruption, make progress, help people. We all intuitively or explicitly understand this simple truth. When there is corruption within our political system, our government no longer serves the public as best it should. When our government hinders its own ability to serve the public, our people get hurt. We all, no matter our political views or backgrounds, can stand behind the dream that our politics should not be used to benefit only the individuals in power. It should be used to benefit the common good. The Aurelian Fellowship believes that if we remove corrupt individuals from office, then the government will become less corrupt. And when the government becomes less corrupt, it can better do what it is supposed to do, which is serve you and this country. Yet we cannot achieve this goal all on our own. The Aurelian Fellowship works alongside the most important part of America, the public. If we are to rid our politics of evil, we will need tremendous power. The form of that power is your vote. The way to save democracy is through the democratic system. Through our votes, we can influence elections, not just for the large national presidential elections, but for all politicians and forms of elected office. And through that, we can make substantial change. Each and every one of us, collectively, has the power to make that change, to only swear in those who would solely serve the public and our country. But to do so would require each and every one of us to be something that we are not, and that is united. And more importantly, united under morality and truth. So long as we are divided and confused, the powerful and the evil can continue to keep complete control over how we think. We need to break out of this cycle before it is too late, and that time, accelerated by social media networks, artificial intelligence algorithms, and nonstop political propaganda machines, is rapidly approaching us. How we act today will shape the future of our country. We are at the crossroads of truth, transparency, and virtue, and lies, deceit, and corruption. Do we want a government that is for the people, that is by the people, that is good to us, and seeks to lead the world not just in our economic and militaristic strengths, but as well as our moral fortitude? Or do we want a government that tears us apart, sows division and mistrust, keeps us ignorant and hateful to better control us, and uses us as pieces in a game we will never see the rewards from winning? The time to make this decision is right now, and the Aurelian Fellowship is here as a guide so you know how to work with us in this fight. We are made up of two types of members, passive Aurelians and active Aurelians. We ask nothing of passive Aurelians except for your trust, and our active Aurelians are those that will commit their time to fighting the most important battle our lives will ever see. Keep listening to how exactly we are going to go about doing all of this, and how you will be able to help us either passively or actively, both of which will give us the strength we need to combat this degradation of our society. As a society, we have never been more hateful, mistrusting, and misunderstanding of our fellow citizens that do not share the same views as us. Both those on the left and the right want to do the right thing. Very few people actually go about their day hoping to inflict more suffering on others while fully knowing what they are doing. Yet when we talk to others that don't share our news sources about what the right thing to do is, we get answers we would expect either an alien or a sociopath to give. Think about this. When we vote, nearly exactly half of the country thinks one set of ideas is drastically better than the exact opposite set of ideas that the other half of the country supports. We are split right down the middle when we vote for our representatives. What is happening? This is not accidental. And predators in government keep the populace divided as perfectly down the 50% line as possible to consolidate power between two teams. This is because when there's only two teams, this is mathematically the smallest number of political parties you can have to share power between, unless your government is an authoritarian one-party system. The more teams you add into the government, the more your team will be sharing power, and thus out of power. With 4 parties, your team may only have the majority of power a quarter of the time. With 3 parties, you'll have that power a third of the time. With 2 parties, half of the time. So there's one reason why one half of people are being manipulated to hate the other half and vice versa. There's a tremendous amount of power in that. But why are people manipulated at all? It's an intentional lack of clear, nonpartisan information and a flood of propaganda from both parties targeting the majority of susceptible Americans. Social media algorithms and the internet have already put many citizens into a post-truth society. The conception and takeoff of AI will only increase these issues. We have already seen that misinformation is, without a doubt, on a rapid rise. This increases social division, destroys our institutions, and destabilizes democracies, which need a public tuned into reality to operate effectively. Misinformation comes in a variety of forms like social media rumors, deepfakes, AI-generated content, misleading headlines, manipulated statistics, and just flat-out hearsay that gets taken at face value. This is the death of informed democracy. Misinformation is one of the highest forms of corruption that our society will just blatantly allow, even though the effects are entirely detrimental to us. Misinformation posing as fact that directly harms people should not be protected under free speech, the same way that you can't yell fire in a movie theater. Even if we don't wish to criminalize misinformation and create laws around it, we should at least have legal barriers to immediately remove harmful misinformation that is masquerading itself as truth. We additionally need to focus on improving media literacy, restoring trust in reliable sources, understanding what are and are not reliable sources, and leveraging technology responsibly. We need to be a country of critical thinking, not one that just irrationally believes whatever headline is thrown at them or story we hear off the street. If we cannot agree on what the reality of the world is, it will become literally impossible for us to discuss ideas and make progress, and we will be doomed to a 1984 dystopia where nobody will even be able to trust what they see or hear online. This is why the Aurelian Fellowship will remain steadfast to the mission of combating misinformation and lies. It is one of, if not the most dangerous enemies to democracy, and it has no place in society. It cripples science, turns your own reasoning against you, it leads to harmful effects that hurt others, and it crushes progress by making you spend valuable time, energy, and effort fighting an enemy that does not exist. It is wrong to lie and lead people astray. It is the enemy to wisdom. It confuses your self-discipline. And it is a cowardly and pathetic practice used to gain power. The sooner we shed this burden from our society and our ways of thinking, the sooner we commit ourselves to ideals that will help us. Humanity has objectively never had it so good. Vaccines, antibiotics, and public health measures have drastically reduced mortality from infections like smallpox, polio, and measles. The proportion of people living in extreme poverty has dropped from over 90% in the 19th century to less than 10% today, thanks to industrialization and economic development. Awareness and legal measures have reduced many forms of violence. Literacy has risen from about 10% of the global population in the 1800s to over 85% today. Women have gained the right to vote, work, and receive education in most countries, and efforts fighting racism have been very successful. These gains, and many others not mentioned, are due to the application of the core values that we have laid out earlier. Yet all of this being true, misinformation is worse now than ever before in human history, and this problem threatens to destroy all of the positive progress we have seen in the past century. These challenges are massive, and the vast majority of us are not equipped to handle them. We all need to understand that most people do not have the time, interest, or energy to be as informed about politics as they would need to be in order to make highly effective voting decisions. We're busy, maybe with sports, with art, personal development, relaxation, taking care of your family, being a part of your community, with being a human. Not everyone has the time, let alone the interest, to devote the required hours each day to filtering through the bogs of political garbage, all so that they can be a bit more informed on a subject. And even worse, the individual being more informed about key issues doesn't actually do much if the majority of the country is being puppeted by forces greater than any given person. It is entirely understandable that things are this way. The world is incredibly complicated at this point in human history. There are no more simple or easy answers. In order to be truly informed about any given subject, you need dozens, if not hundreds of hours of truly intense and deep learning. That's just for a single subject. That's not even to be a master in that field. That is solely to be at a point where you understand the material well enough to make a truly informed decision about it through your vote. And that's just for policy material. That doesn't include the effort required to research the individual politicians running our government in order to weed out the corrupt from the just. There's nearly a limitless amount of information to get through. Most of it is worthless garbage, and an equally limitless amount of time and energy that your everyday activities require of you. What is the solution then? The problems only become more complex, and to the disinterested or the busy, it's a standard decision to leave behind deep research into this abundance of key issues. When most people end up making that standard decision, our government, media, and corporations increasingly polarize and radicalize us with an information ecosystem that is completely different from what they are showing to other people. Then, 50% of the country is completely biased one way, the other 50% is completely biased the other, and most are operating off of misinformation that they'll never actually get checked on. So the powerful happily take advantage of the confusion that they create. We need a guiding light. Something for people who want to vote, who want to be active in politics, who want to do and mean well and make a real difference. But for those that just don't have the time or the interest to really dive into these subjects, we need something to follow and support without requiring having to devote one's life to many different fields of study. This is the Aurelian Fellowship's promise to you. We are going to do the heavy lifting in pursuit of an ideal democracy, and if you agree with our moral foundations, you are going to support our pursuit with your vote and not with your precious time. Active members will help us with researching politicians, policies, and reaching out to voting communities. Passive members are required to do absolutely nothing but vote in alignment with us on voting day. Both members are overwhelmingly valuable in this fight, and for those that believe in these moral goals but don't have the time to give, for your time we will only ever ask for about an hour every few years for you to go vote. Aside from that, we want you to live your life and use your time as you wish. Live it happily. Together, we will push back the flood of corruption and misinformation seeped deep within our government and society. We're not just going to look to the past and make America great again. We're going to grasp the destiny of the future and make it better than it ever has been. Together, we are going to make this country the economic and moral envy of the world, the shining example of powerful ethical character that will lead the free world. The America, the ideal democracy that we know we can be. What would an ideal democracy look like? While there are certainly more, an ideal democracy may follow some of these principles. The news organizations and the government have transparency with the populace. Accurate and unbiased information is the only information shared. And while of course there is still entertainment, it is seen as such, and blatant lies are not tolerated for discussing real-world issues. The government's main goal is to prioritize the well-being, health, happiness, safety, and fulfillment of its citizens. There are several political parties, and while they disagree, arguments are settled through rational and respectful public debates that can go on for several hours to days in an effort to tackle highly complex problems. Arguments made are fact-checked and verified by world-class experts to ensure accuracy, and we use the evidence of what we know to be true to move forward. Representatives and parties are voted for by ranked choice voting, ensuring that citizens have more representation and power in their democracy. Misinformation, especially about things of consequence like politics, would not only be punishable by law, but would also be socially ruinous. Repeat liars and cheaters would be ridiculed by a virtuous populace and a virtuous government seeking truth and betterment. And these charlatans would never be considered for political office again. What would a dystopian democracy look like? Misleading and biased information is forced onto the public, with each news source and political party providing their own account of events and no real way to discern truth from lies. Algorithms are used to radicalize and brainwash people, independent of where they lie on the political spectrum. Hidden agendas are behind every story, and the mass control of the public is the main interest that massive conglomerates, both corporate and political, are after. Reaching agreement through discussion with your friends, families, and fellow citizens becomes impossible. Each person is given a different version of the truth, with none of them actually being accurate. Each living in their own microcosm of lies. Debate in the marketplace of ideas become impossibilities, as there is no common ground with which to even begin a conversation. Candidates are chosen from only one of two political parties, both of which work together to maintain the abysmal status quo for everyone except the elite. Only having two parties ensures a large portion of the public has no true representation, and we are forced to choose merely between the two of lesser evils. Candidates are not chosen based on their merit or competencies, but instead on their ability to manipulate voters. The government does not care about morality or justice or the well-being of the public. The only goal it has is to accumulate power, and it does this through the hoarding of wealth, resources, and information, as well as maintaining control over the minds of the people. Democracy is a game of money and not logic or reason. Votes are bought and paid for, either directly by giving voters money in exchange for their vote or indirectly by being able to flood information sources like the internet and TV with overwhelming amounts of propaganda. People fight constantly over what they believe is right, with nobody actually being able to make any difference, and everybody being too caught up fighting themselves to face the true enemies of the people. Which version of democracy, the ideal or the dystopian, do you believe we are closer to? It's no wonder that the people have lost faith in our institutions. Our institutions have lost the vision of our country, and we continue to miss the mark. No wonder the children are depressed and the citizens despondent. We stray further and further from a hopeful and benevolent ideal that we hold in our hearts for a country we love so deeply, and it pains us to watch our home, our dream, hurt itself so violently. It's brutal. The pain that comes from watching love, hope, justice, and good be swapped out for hatred, despair, corruption, and evil. It's time to take a stand against this barbaric nonsense. It's time to return to the core values that uphold the better angels of our nature. Our country was founded on the principles of a Western philosophy. The concepts of rights, liberty, equality, manifest destiny, democracy, none of these are new to the United States. As is with all history, we have inherited these ways of thinking from our ancestors. While there are many philosophies that have shaped our culture, two have had the largest and most positive impacts. These are the European Enlightenment of the 17th and 18th centuries, and before this, and influenced by it, Stoicism at the beginning of the Common Era. The Enlightenment, often called the Age of Reason, was an intellectual movement in the 17th and 18th centuries that championed reason, science, and individual liberty as tools to improve society and human well-being. It questioned traditional authority and emphasized progress, education, and critical thinking. Philosophers like John Locke, Voltaire, and Immanuel Kant argued for ideas like freedom of speech, religious tolerance, and equality before the law. The Enlightenment pushed societies to move away from superstition and authoritarianism toward systems that value knowledge, democracy, and personal liberty. This shift laid the groundwork for modern democracy, education, and justice, creating a foundation for more open, fair, and forward-thinking societies. The Enlightenment asks us to pursue four key principles: science, reason, humanism, and progress. Science is a systematic approach to understanding the natural world through observation, experimentation, and evidence. It seeks to uncover truths about the universe, improve technology, and solve practical problems. It prioritizes empirical evidence and challenges superstition and dogma. A medical researcher, developing a vaccine for a widespread disease, conducting rigorous trials and peer reviews to ensure its safety and effectiveness, ultimately saving millions of lives, is an example of science. Reason is the ability to think logically, critically, and independently, using rational thought to guide beliefs and decisions. Reason encourages skepticism of unfounded claims, values intellectual debate, and seeks solutions grounded in evidence rather than emotion or tradition. A community leader debunking misinformation about a health crisis using clear, logical communication and credible evidence to promote understanding is an example of reason. Humanism is a belief in the inherent worth, dignity, and potential of all humans, focusing on their well-being and moral development. Humanism emphasizes empathy, education, and justice. It seeks to create societies that respect individual rights and nurture human flourishing. A teacher dedicating extra time to help students succeed, believing in their potential and striving to improve their lives is an example of humanism. Progress is the idea that humanity can continually improve its condition through knowledge, innovation, and reform. This drives advancements in social equality, scientific discovery, and cultural enlightenment, aiming to leave the world better off for future generations. The very democracy we have today that allows us to participate in and be critical of government is a massive example of progress from more archaic and unfair political systems. Stoicism is a practical philosophical system that has survived millennia, influenced other philosophies such as the Enlightenment, and has helped humans through all types of trials in life. It's also where the Aurelian Fellowship derives its name from. Aurelian coming from Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius, who was a true example that lived and practiced his philosophy. Rooted in ancient Greece and Rome, Stoicism teaches the development of resilience, emotional balance, and inner peace. It teaches to value the whole, that all is one and one is all. At its core, the Stoic mindset equips you to handle stress, uncertainty, and adversity with grace. It helps you maintain focus on what truly matters and avoid being swept away by fleeting distractions. It's especially useful in the modern world, offering timeless strategies for achieving clarity, resilience, and purpose. Stoicism provides answers to the most fundamental questions to our existence, like, how should we live? What does it mean to be a human? How can we best use the time available to us? Stoics use 4 key principles to live up to: virtue, wisdom, temperance, and courage. Virtue is a commitment to moral excellence and integrity in all aspects of life. It's behaving justly, treating others fairly, and maintaining ethical standards regardless of external circumstances or personal gain. A whistleblower exposing corruption, despite personal risk, acting with integrity to uphold justice is an example of virtue. Wisdom is the ability to discern what is true, right, and important while making decisions based on reason and understanding. It involves recognizing what you can control and accepting what you cannot. It is about seeking knowledge, thinking critically, and aligning your actions with reality. A mediator, helping resolve a heated conflict by carefully analyzing each side's perspective and guiding them toward a fair resolution, is an example of wisdom. Temperance is the practice of self-control, moderation, and balance in thoughts, emotions, and actions. Temperance helps you avoid excess, resist impulsive desires, and stay focused on what truly matters. It's about finding harmony, whether it's in work, pleasure, or personal goals. An athlete sticking to a balanced training schedule, as well as diet, resisting the temptation to indulge excessively or to overtrain. Maintaining physical and mental well-being and balance is an example of temperance. Courage is the strength to face challenges, adversity, and fear with determination and resolve. It's not about being fearless, but about acting rightly despite fear. Courage allows you to stand up for your values, endure hardship, and confront difficult situations with dignity, strength, and resilience. A firefighter running into a burning building to save lives, overcoming fear to do what is right and necessary, is an example of courage. These are actionable and measurable values that Stoics believe all people are capable of achieving. Stoicism is not some abstract philosophy meant only to be discussed in niche circles. Its design was for each and every person and to be used daily throughout any of life's moments. Stoicism, the Enlightenment, and countless other good-natured philosophies have already proven that humanity can be more than an impulsive, selfish animal bound by greed, corruption, and vengeance. Almost all philosophy and almost all humans wish to abide by the principles of justice, equality, reason, and the bonds we share as a community. No matter what ideology or philosophy you hold dear, we can all agree to share these fundamental ideals for the public good. We all want our communities to be free of pain. We all want to grow old, live peacefully, and have mental peace within. We all want to see children prosper without the pain we bore for them. And we must all understand that in large part, we as humans are more alike than everything else. We need to take a step back and really think of it all. There is no one else but us. There is no one else who will care for us, no one else that will raise us, no one else that will build our hospitals, administer our medicine, cook our food, create our clothing. Humanity is all we have. The majority of us live for this place and community that we call home, but unfortunately, some of us can only live for themselves. When we allow people to hurt humanity, we harm ourselves. If you harm the public, then you suffer as well, and vice versa. If you benefit the public, you share in the rewards. We hope to rekindle this sense of community through the understanding that we are truly all in this together. The world is dark and the universe uncaring, but that does not mean that we have to be. Allowing the most callous and selfish of us to determine how our society and culture operates is an insult to all of us. It's time for society to return to fundamentally good values and to hold our representatives and systems to those values. We are standing on the precipice of destiny. Every day we make decisions, big and small, that impact the rest of humanity. Many of us, no matter our background, can feel a sense of impending doom that feels inevitable. What we are witnessing is a turning point for humanity, and it is not one for the better. We feel that things are about to break and shatter, that the progress we have strived and fought for in recent decades will all be lost, and that we are powerless against the behemoths of industry and government. This moment is happening right now, and their wishes are not in line with humanity's natural goals. Their wishes are to obtain infinite wealth at the expense of mothers, fathers, laborers, children, the elderly, the hopeful, and the damned. Their ideal is to make a place where you are powerless and unable to live your life the way you want as you ought to. But you are not powerless, not yet. Every single human soul on this planet can make a difference if their voices are heard together. History does not rest. We will not rest. We will not allow this to be the next chapter in not only American history, but human history. We are humanity. It's not just the government. We have risen from the mud of ignorance, have harnessed the power of fire and language, have conquered agriculture, have created societies and civilizations. We have shaped religions, ideologies, beliefs, faiths. We have triumphed over the limitations of our own biology, systematically discovering more about our world and applying newfound knowledge we toiled over for the benevolent goal of improving life. We have created industry and mass production of goods and services, and have slain the evils of disease, poverty, and starvation in most of the globe. We have invented means of flight and revolutionized transportation. We have conquered the moon. We have sent man beyond our own planet. We are humanity. We have fought against tyranny and kings and pharaohs and dictators. We have manifested our own destiny, our own rights, and our own freedoms that we then ensure to all. We developed instantaneous communication, means of unlimited information, games and toys and cooking beyond the wildest imaginations of even the emperors of old. We are the builders of our future, the shepherds of our destiny. Do we now stand by and let corruption and greed infect our lives? Do we sit back and allow our triumphs to be consumed by decay and regression? Do we now allow our institutions and moral character and leadership to crumble before our very eyes? And for what? Also that a few people can hoard more power, can ruin the lives of millions of others? This is absurd. This is disgusting, and this is beneath us. This is not the potential of humanity. This is not the potential of those who would shape the world, those who would rise above, those who shall inherit the stars. We are humanity. We reject this pathetic and deplorable path that the worst of us would force us down. We must stand as we always have, together, in the pursuit of values beyond any one of us. Now is not the time to give up everything that has made us who we are in favor of dying divided. It's time to rise, to fight against tyranny, to be that which we should be. If we do not, nobody will. The Aurelian Fellowship begins this fight now. Join us as a fellow Aurelian, passive or active, and let's make the difference we need to be. We have found ourselves in a chaotic position in history, wedged in between humanity's triumph and failure. The Aurelian Fellowship, made up of citizens like myself, like you, have decided that the corruption of the system that shapes our fates and well-being has gone too far, and that the corruption must be destroyed. We begin our fight with the power that we all carry, our votes. By ridding the government of those who would do us harm for their own personal gain, we will ensure the quality of governance that we the people deserve. We do not fall prey to the games and deception of propaganda or partisan us-them mentality. We pursue what is right regardless of individual gain, basing our beliefs in the pillars that have been the crucible for the best of humanity: science, reason, humanism, progress, virtue, wisdom, temperance, courage. In and through this, we will triumph.